the ever-looming threat of the far-right fascist European bogeyman is constant. How scared are you? Are you scared? How scared are you? Are you scared? Some people are absolutely terrified. The person that shared this article and that I clicked on was terrified, quite terrified. Should you be terrified? No, probably not. I'll tell you this. Before our eyes, Italy is becoming a fascist state. Well, how many times have we heard that recently about everything? Apparently YouTube's a fascist state now, apparently. I don't know. Apparently it is. Yeah. Southend is probably a fascist state right now. You know, I'm sure they could find a way to tell you it's a fascist state. Italy is interesting though because they do kind of love. There is still strong support for like Mussolini, and there's people who love Mussolini. You know, you wouldn't find that about Hitler, but you would find that about like Mussolini. I mean, I remember. You might remember too. Paolo Di Canio, the football player, in case you're not au fait with that kind of thing, when he was playing for Lazio, got in trouble for doing the fascist salute. But he said he was a proud, you know, he proudly supported that party and the whole thing behind it, you know, Italian greatness, and so on and so forth. So there is kind of a different thing going on in Italy, but I think from an outsider's perspective, there are some things that we will not understand about other nations, especially when it comes to staunch nationalism. Like, go across Asia, and like, you know, there's some nationalist attitude out there that they're totally fine with, right across the world. It's only in Europe where it seems that nationalism, and you know, you can understand why, because of the recent history of the past 100 years, that staunch nationalism has led to some iffy things going on. Some iffy things, some bad shit happened. I don't know if you're familiar with history and World War II and stuff like that, but yeah, you can understand why people get a bit like, ooh. So, those whom the gods wish to destroy, they first make mad. So the old saying goes. Do you know that old saying? Those whom the gods wish to destroy, they first make mad. Isn't that a saying used all the time? You know, cold hands, warm heart. You know, fits like a glove. You know? Twice a week I find myself using that age-old saying. If so, then the outlook for Italy is grim indeed. For Italy today, almost a century on from Mussolini's march on Rome, has installed in its capital a government that makes the buffoonish Benito look the very model of statesmanship. It is pursuing policies that are not simply neo-fascistic and cruel, though they are certainly that, but crazy with it. It's crazy. The latest eccentric proposal, well, you know, like when you put eccentric and Italian governments together, it makes sense. There's something always eccentric going on in Italian politics. And from what I understand, most people in Italy don't really care about politics too much. Like, when the government's in, they sort of just get on with their own thing. That's why you have so many of these, like, groups like the Camorra and the Ingretta, what are they called? Ingretta, Calabrian Mafia and shit, you know, Cosa Nostra. This is why you have all these kind of, you know, the secret societies, like, who just run things, like, on a local level, you know? Like, they don't give a fuck about the government too much. Yeah. The latest eccentric proposal from the Interior and Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini is to make ethnic shops close at 9. This is because, in his view, some premises, almost all managed by foreign citizens, had become the haunt of drunks and drug dealers in the evening. Don't know what sort of context that was said in, and if it's been taken out of context, I don't know. You just never know. It is the Independent, so, you know, got to be careful. What's more, Salvini, who is becoming world famous as a sort of mini-me Donald Trump, adds that such shops were full of people who drink beer, whiskey until 3 in the morning and who piss and shit on the doorstep. Well, maybe they do. I don't know. How do you call it a mini-me Donald Trump? I don't think Donald Trump's closing ethnic shops at 9 p.m. That's a very Italian thing to do. Just do something like you go, no, we're not like, no, you're foreigner. No. No. You're pissing a shit in the street. We close the shop at 9 p.m. You fucking idiot. Oh, there you go. Readers may recall the boycott of Jewish shops and businesses pursued by Hitler in the 1930s. I love it how they always bring it back to Hitler. Everything's about Hitler now. Like, oh, remember what Hitler did? Hitler painted dogs as well. And the various curfews imposed on racial minorities by tyrants throughout history. Italy's bizarre retail curfew is just the latest in a series of measures designed to turn the entire country into what might be termed a hostile environment for refugees, asylum seekers, and economic migrants. Well, there's loads of different types of foreigners these days, isn't there? It's good. It's funny. A census of Roma people, the refusal to rescue migrants from leaky boats in the Mediterranean, and the threat to imprison local mayors who sought to welcome refugees to their depopulated towns and villages are some of the other recent attacks on human rights. Italy leads the world in rolling back civil liberties, if nothing else. Italy leads it, does it? Compared to what? You know, there's some real wacky countries out there, right? But Italy is leading. Italy's number one at lunacy. Come on, man, calm down. We often think that fascism is a grainy black and white newsreel affair with ranting leaders in ridiculous uniforms strutting around a far-off time. Yeah, today's fascists are rather different, with their open-neck shirts and social media profiles. I know, because now we live in the future. It's crazy. Yet the philosophy is identical. There is the same contempt for democracy, nowadays labelled the establishment. Right, okay. The contempt for democracy, nowadays labelled the establishment. Do you see what he just did there? Do you see what he... See, this is the thing. Whether Italy is getting a bit fucking... Whoa! Excuse me, is another story altogether. But it's the underlying thing that people are writing about these days and what they're trying to push. So if you're going to have a go at the establishment and say and be an anti-establishment figure, I consider myself quite anti-establishment. I always have been. It's one of my constant things. Everything else will sort of fluctuate. You know, my opinions and it fluctuates as I learn more and become more nuanced and grow as a human. But definitely when it comes to the establishment, it rings true all the time. The establishment blows dick. But apparently, I'm anti-democratic because I label the establishment. You see what they're doing? The anti-establishment. Because people see Brexit as kind of an anti-establishment thing, but they're saying, no, it's anti-democracy, even though it was a democratic decision. See what people are doing now? They're just going bonkers. They're going, oh, let's just say anything we like. Fuck it. You know, they're like 6-year-olds. People are like 6-year-olds. They wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to be a robot all day. Oh, no, I'm Superman now. That's what they're like. They're just mental. Yeah, it's going, oh, let's find a way to attack everybody we don't like. Oh, well, if you say anti-establishment, then you're anti-democracy. It's like, what? Yeah. The news establishment. You're an establishment, alright? That's afraid. It's like, oh my goodness, honestly. Traditional politicians are vilified as corrupt, self-seeking failures, just as they were in the 1920s and 1930s. Foreigners at home and abroad are blamed for complex economic problems. Protectionism is grasped at as a quick fix. Free trade is misunderstood and despised. International organizations such as the UN and EU are attacked for their interference in domestic affairs. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. And who cares? Good. You can criticize, and you know, if they do something that you like, then you can praise them. If they do something you don't like, you can criticize them. It's not, you know, it's like what, you know, for the interference in domestic affairs. Yeah, it's our business. It's our fucking business. Do you know what I'm saying? Protectionism is grasped as a quick fix. Free trade is misunderstood and despised. No, it's not misunderstood and despised. It's not exactly despised. It's just being criticised, not despised. No one hopes, thinks that Salvini and his friends are about to invade Abyssinia or Albania, but they are certainly dangerous and a threat to the harmony of Europe. Oh, the harmony. Fought for and forged over the 7 decades since the last time the fascists told us they had all the answers. In Poland, in Hungary, in the Czech Republic, fascists run whole countries. In places such as Austria and Denmark that either share power or are close to it. Obviously, not praising Denmark no more. In France, and that the National Front is reinventing itself. Macron almost last hope for French democracy. In Germany, we know what has happened. The rise of the AfD has pushed the two main parties into an uncomfortable permanent grand alliance, squeezing the life out of the Social Democrats and leaving the neo-Nazi as the unofficial opposition. The same appears to be happening in Sweden. Even in prosperous Bavaria, faith in the established parties is evaporating, though in this case with some of the discontent flowing towards the more benign Greens. Next year's elections for the European Parliament seem set to turn that talking shop into a giant talking shop. Turn that talking shop into talking shop. All right, as he's referring to the European Parliament, right? Into a giant playpen for fruitcakes and more or less closet racists. Well, apparently it's all out in the open because they want the buggers to close their shops at 9. But apparently they're in a closet, even though they're overtly. Well, how do you know they're closet racist? What inside knowledge do you have? If it was suddenly, I think they're supposed to say only, a question of peckish Italians being unable to find a kebab shop of an evening, it would be bad enough. If Salvini were alone, it would be bad enough, but he is not. And he has friends, allies, and copycats across the continent. That's why Italy's mad ethnic shop curfew matters. Now, I don't know anything about this ethnic shop curfew. I don't know how much, because you can't take none of this at face value when they're writing about this shit. Now, look here. This is the undeniable truth. There is anti-establishment shit going on. People, and they see it as a bad thing that newer parties are taking over. And there's some flamboyant characters coming along. But it's because everyone's fed up with the same system. Do you not understand? That's what it's always been about. Everyone's bored. You have something called the Brexit Party that lasted. It was established for 6 weeks, and it wins the majority of seats in the European Parliament. That's where we're at. People want change. Things are rapidly moving, and we have access to so much more information, and so many voices are being heard that were never allowed to be heard before. Whether you like it or not, we're going through a period of radical change. People wanted radical change. After 2008, that's all we came home. We need radical change. But when it's the radical change that certain people don't like, they're like, oh, it's bruv, here's your radical change. Make your own radical change. And now everyone suddenly, those who don't like the radical changes, are suddenly going, no, actually we don't want radical change. We want to cling on to these age-old institutions to protect us, because you're pussies. Pussy. Radical change is coming. If you don't like it, create your own fucking radical change instead of clinging on to all the old stuff, because the old stuff blows. It really blows. It blows. The old established media, the old, how long have we had the same political parties for? A very long time. It needs to go. It needs change. It's about time. Oh, we've been established here for 400 years. Who cares? You're not you're not Stella. Stella Artois has been around since the 13th century. Is that the only lager you want? No. Hell no. So create a new bomb-house lager that's cheaper and gets you more drunk. It doesn't make you commit domestic violence. Jeez. And the other thing is, the saddest thing is, because I label all this, it's a populist movement, and it's nationalism is suddenly becoming acceptable again, because nationalism has been sort of frowned upon for a long time. But in countries like Italy, I think they're very proud nationalists. There are some countries that are yeah, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. But the things with the closed border attitude that a lot of these countries are taking on, they're sort of talking about it being fascist and this. But the fact is, it's about time that everyone's stopped closing their eyes and being so fucking naive and just being so silly, and just started listening and going, because no one's been listening and everyone's just gets labelled instead. Like me, what do I think about open borders? What do I think about mass immigration? I couldn't give a shit, to be honest. I couldn't care, because I don't know enough about the economics of the whole thing. I like to listen to both sides of the thing, See, that's me. I listen to everybody because I'll be like, okay, what are you saying? All right, what are you saying? But no, they're not listening to the people, and now they are taking over because they've had enough. Because the numbers of migration is just so big. It's bigger than you can imagine. You know, when 1 million people marched into Germany, that's such a lot of people from a totally different culture, and lots of bad things happened about that after that. And it's well documented, but it's sort of suppressed by certain aspects of the media. And when you start doing that, and then start pointing fingers at people, going, "No, you're a racist. You're a fascist. You're a neo-Nazi. You're a paedophile. Whatever you want to call them." Like, do you not get it? It's like, no, you've got to listen to people's concerns. You know, they had that incident in New Year's Eve in Germany where there's women getting gripped up and groped like pieces of meat. Like, people can get angry about that. They're saying, well, who did it? Well, them lot. Like, it's fine to go, it was them. Just say it was them. But don't start with it. Because if it was them, then hell, you're going to have to talk about it. You can't just go, oh, no, you can't blame them. Well, it was them that did it. No, you can't say, no. Hitler. Like, it was them that did it. And if you start protecting people and start saying you can't say this, you can't say that, then you're going to create resentment. You're going to create divide. And then you're going to get populist movements like this rising up because they're like going, all right, enough is enough. It's just too many. We're fine. Because that's the thing, that it's been sold by one side, right? So you got the left-leaning side, the pro-Europe side, they're like, oh, they don't want any immigration. No, mass immigration is what they're talking about. And that's it. That's literally it. These are the two things that are just going, like, it's like, no, if you ever listen to what those people are, because I've listened to what they're saying we don't want mass immigration, we need it, it just needs to slow down. And everyone else, and then the other side are going, no, we must let everybody in, and the other side is like, no, we need to let like this many people in. No, everyone, there's space for everyone. They can sleep in I don't know, they can sleep in my cupboard. Like, no. Like, everyone needs to be a bit more realistic. Because look, I always joked about this, you know, when they said let all the migrants in a few years ago, that were in Calais, the ones that came into the UK, I was fine. I was like, cool. I was like, look, if half these people are well desperate and we know what's going on in their country, and we played our part in that, and I think it's the human thing to do is to like just try and help these people. If we can, let's bloody do it. All right, let's just do it. Now, how many problems has it caused and what has it done? I don't know. There's a hell of a lot of data to get through, isn't there? You know, who's going through all that data and working it out? Not many people. Not your average fearmonger, whether they're left-wing or right-wing fearmongers. I don't think many of them are like, they're just picking and choosing what they're telling you. Of course they are, because that's all they care about is power. Like, the establishment. Yes, the establishment. Whatever, like, that's fine. But when you let that many people in and it starts to cause an issue, then you're going to have to listen to people, you know. But like I said, I was fine with them. You know, it was fine with letting them in. But at what cost? And now people are saying that the cost is too much, and it's not good, and they don't think it's good, and people aren't integrating, and people aren't doing this, and the cultural differences are blah 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 blah. But to go around calling everyone a neo-Nazi and so forth, just because they're like, right, we're going to shut down our borders now, like, border control shouldn't be a sign, like, toughening borders shouldn't be a sign of fascism. It should just be a sign of, like, just protection. Do you know what I mean? It's what they do to the citizens in the country, like getting shops to close at 9 p.m. because, like, but you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's happening. You're not there. So how can you judge when you don't even know? You just hear what one side of it says is going on. They might have legitimate reasons for doing it. If they are getting drunk and pissing and shitting in the streets, and I think a lot of places will. The police in the UK shut many things down. Like, they will find loopholes to shut stuff down that they can't shut down. I know this from experience. I've been told firsthand about what the police will get up to if they think somewhere's a trouble spot. They don't care who's frequenting it, whether it's 20 drunk white English boys or 30 drunk Somalians. They'll shut it down. They go, oh, this is a trouble spot for crack, or something. You know, they'll sell it well. You know, it's just because in Italy they've got, nah, the foreigners, they're pissy, shitty, drinky, no. You know, because they're Italian, they're different. You can't, you know. You have to admit now that a hell of a lot of the majority of people don't like mass immigration and are standing up to it. It's what the people want. It's the people who are voting these people in. When someone stands up and says what the people want, that's what they give them. I don't think much of it is. I don't see. They say a lot of it's scapegoating about the economy. It's you know, they're being used as scapegoats because of the failings of the economy. Like half of it ain't even on that tip. Most of it is too many people and the cultural differences and the integration and just it's more social problems than it is economic problems that's come about. Because everyone says, oh, after the economic crash, that was fucking 11 years ago now. Like, we've recovered. The whole world's recovered. So you can't be blaming it on that. Like, well, fascism rises after this. It's like, no, you can't. You have to look at history and go, right, well, this is what happened because of this, but it isn't the blueprint of the exact blueprint of what's going on now. It's totally different. We're in a totally different time right now, a totally different world. Okay, and it's just like, and people have to start just listening and going that it turns. You know, me, what I was meant to say is, you know, I don't mind if you let people in who are desperate, blah 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 blah. It's fine, but there's a hell of a lot of people that don't want it. There's a majority of people that say, no, enough is enough. We've had enough of this. Because the amount of mass immigration has been going on for a long time now. For a very long time. You know, I remember back in the Tony Blair years, it was like going up to 600,000 a year coming into the UK. There's a lot. There's a lot of people. And the amount of people going, and it's... And when you get ghettoized areas because of immigration, you know, look, the same with the Brits. Look at the British in Benidorm and shit like that. They don't integrate. They're fucking, you know, not call them all scum, but like a lot of them rolling around like, you're not integrating, bro. Why are you here? You know, don't even eat the food. It's not like it's mad spicy in Spain. It's like, oh, I can't eat that spice. It's like, what? Paella? It's just delicious. It's not exactly mad exotic, is it? Do you know what I'm saying? It's the same, works the same way. It's just so... people just have to accept that everyone's not a fascist. They just don't like mass immigration and they want tightened borders. And that's pretty much all it is. That's pretty much all I ever hear. So, you know, and for them to be pushing this sort of this like fierce fight for the EU, it's like mass propaganda. Like, you can tell where people's interests are invested just by talking like this, instead of talking about the bigger picture and going, oh, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? You know, you see the Brexit party on the rise, like they're 6 weeks old. Oh, come on, man. You know, you gotta just, the people are speaking and you don't like what they have to say. Me, I can give a shit. But there's many people who do give a shit. Well, you have to start talking it out instead of just shouting at each other and calling each other names. Because you're acting like 6-year-olds. All of you. Come on, stop it. It's pathetic. Be an adult, like me.